Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Our next guests represent parts of the city in the U.S. House of Representatives. They don't agree on everything, but they both say the tax system is unfair. Tonight, they'll debate how to change it. Supporting the so-called Buffett rule proposed by President Obama is Democratic Congresswoman Rep Maloney. She represents parts of Manhattan and Queens. And supporting the budget plan of Wisconsin Congressman Paul Ryan is a fellow Republican who represents Staten Island and parts of Brooklyn, Michael Grimm. Welcome to you both. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, Josh.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Good seeing you again.
Let's start with the Buffett rule. That's what the president has been talking about yesterday and today. It requires a 30% tax rate on individuals making more than $1 million a year, and it's adjusted for inflation after 2013. Congressman, why do you support the Buffett rule?
Well, I think it's fair that everybody be treated equally, that everybody paid their fair share. And as Warren Buffett always says, why should his secretary have a higher tax rate than he has? So he feels that it should be the same for her and for him, and I agree. You could also call this rule the Reagan rule, because he came forward with the same idea and talked about it when he was president. In fact, we could change the name if it could get my colleague here to support it. But we do need to come forward with a balanced approach. The Ryan bill not only extends the millionaires' tax cut, but it makes the tax cut even greater for millionaires. And we feel that it should have a fair playing field for everyone. And why should a police officer, a teacher, a firefighter, and even you, Josh, pay more of a tax rate than a zillionaire, a billionaire, or a millionaire? It's just not fair.
All right, so you mentioned the Ryan rule. Let's talk about what the Ryan budget actually does. According to the head of the Budget Committee in the House of Representatives, it would slash spending. It would create two new tax brackets. There's just a 10% tax bracket and a 25% tax bracket. There's a number of loophole closures, but they are not specified within the budget. Let's talk to you, Congressman Grimm, about why you support the Ryan plan.
Well, first of all, I think we have universally agreed on both sides of the aisle that our tax code's too complex. It's too difficult. It's not fair. I agree that we should have a fair tax code, but 47% of Americans don't pay any federal taxes. To me, that's unfair. The idea that we're going to have a Buffett rule, first of all, the funny thing about the Buffett rule is the president says it's going to be used to pay down the debt. Well, that's just wrong. It's misleading. It's so small. You're talking about $3 billion a year. The deficits, just think of the deficits, over $1.4 trillion a year. So $3 billion compared to $1.4 trillion, it doesn't even scratch the surface. This is nothing more than class warfare. This is rhetoric. It's political, just designed really to say that the rich aren't paying their share when the top 1% already pay 40% of all federal taxes. The top 10% already pay 2/3. That's more than any industrialized nation in the world. So to say that they're not paying their fair share just isn't true. The math doesn't lie. And if we want a fair tax code, let's simplify it. Let's get rid of the tax loopholes. And let's let the 47% that don't have any skin in the game at all, let's get them to have skin in the game, because I think that's healthy for all of America.
Doesn't your colleague across the aisle have a point? It's the Buffett rule would only generate 0.5% of the 2012 budget deficit. So what's the rule all about?
Well, first of all, I would say that everyone pays taxes. My constituents and yours pay sales tax. They pay the payroll tax. They pay taxes on all kinds of things that they buy.
But so do the rich.
And but they are paying taxes.
I said federal income tax.
Well, federal income tax, that's true. But they are paying taxes. They're paying into Medicare. They're paying into Social Security. So they are paying quite a bit into the social fabric of our country. And in the Ryan bill, you say that they are going to close some loopholes, but they don't mention them. And deductions, are they going to cut the deduction for city and state taxes, which is so critical to New York State that the Republicans continue to do in all these budget fights? That would be devastating to us.
Well,
what
I
about
agree.
I
agree with that, but I also agree.
We need to know what these deductions are that they're talking about.
But Congressman,
what about
you know
mortgage?
even better than I, because you've been here so long, that's what that Ways and Means, the actual committees are supposed to debate that and allow that to come out in the committee room. That's the way Congress is designed. Those are the rules of the Congress in the House. Isn't that an important part of the process so that people can come together?
That's an important part of the process, but I'd like to know right now, does he intend to cut the deduction for mortgages? And what about closing all these tax loopholes? President Obama came out and said he would lower the corporation tax if you'd close the loopholes. All of a sudden, no one wanted to lower the corporation taxes. We're talking about loopholes to subsidize big oil, subsidize agri.
That is in the Ryan budget. I agree with you, and so does Paul Ryan.
That we should cut those subsidies?
We should cut the loopholes, and let's
But he doesn't define them. Why doesn't he define what he's talking about?
Out of respect for the rules of the House, that the committees of jurisdiction have to come together and bring it. And here's the best part about it.
Well, a lot of presidents and budgets put what they're talking about on the table. But I'm glad to hear that you would not support cutting the deduction for city and state taxes.
I certainly would not.
And what about
nor
the
home interest, mortgage interest? Absolutely not.
Which one would you support then?
I think that there's a lot of specialized loopholes for very specialized industries that I would cut. I would get rid of some of the subsidies for ethanol and things like that. I just don't think that we need those. But when it comes to charitable deduction, I think that's very important for the economy.
I agree. It's very important in New York.
There are some probably 4 or 5 core deductions that I think help stimulate our economy that I would not get rid of. But I do think there are some of the more corporate loopholes that we've been seeing that certainly can go. But I do think it's the Committee of Jurisdiction that should have the right to debate those.
The president came forward and he said, let's just ban all of them. Take away every corporate loophole. I'd support that. Just take them. Do you know that a lot of corporations don't even pay any taxes? A lot of individuals don't pay any taxes that are super wealthy. And I feel that many millionaires, according even Mr. Buffett, have come forward and supported the president's proposal and the Warren Buffett proposal that basically secretaries should not have to pay more.
After the break, because it's been lively so far, and I'm sure it will be after the break, but we have to take a commercial break. And we'll have more with members of Congress in just a moment. And later, we will ask Curtis Lewa and Herson Barrera if Rick Santorum's decision to